There is a place between places, a realm that exists in the spaces where reality grows thin and the laws of the material universe hold no sway. It is called many things by those who have glimpsed it and survived. The immaterium, the sea of souls, the realm of chaos. Most simply call it the warp. It is not a place meant for mortal beings. It is a dimension of pure thought and emotion, where the dreams and nightmares of every sentient creature in the galaxy swirl together in an endless storm of psychic energy. Here, time has no meaning. Distance is a suggestion. The landscape shifts with the whims of intelligences so vast and so alien that to comprehend them fully would shatter the sanest mind. And yet, within this realm of madness, a single figure walks. He has been walking for what feels like forever. Perhaps it has been forever. In the warp, such distinctions become meaningless. Days blur into years, centuries compress into moments, and the very concept of duration loses all anchor to anything real. He might have been here for a decade. He might have been here for 10,000 years. He no longer knows, and in truth, it no longer matters. His name is Kaldor Draigo. He was, once, the supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights, the highest honor a son of Titan could achieve. He commanded the chapter in its eternal war against the Daemon, led his brothers into battles that would have been deemed impossible by any other measure. He was the savior of Aquilum, the hero who had stood against the Daemon Primarch Mortarion himself, and humbled that ancient monster on the fields of Cornavin. Now he is a wanderer, a lord with no domain, a knight with no quest, exiled from reality itself by his nemesis, the Daemon Prince Makar, cast into the very realm of his enemies to wander until the end of all things, and still he walks, and still he fights, and still he endures. The shot rings out across the blasted landscape, the storm bolter bucking against its wrist mount as the shell streaks through the haze toward its target. Draigo regrets pulling the trigger almost as soon as he does it. The spent casing tumbles to the ground at his feet, and with it falls another fragment of his remaining resources. 7 shots remain. 7 shots to last him through whatever unknowable span of time lies ahead. Whatever fresh horrors or fell-spawn nightmares he might yet encounter. He has been careful, so careful, conserving his ammunition with a discipline born of desperation. His blade can kill most things. The Titan's Word, that ancient weapon of his office, has drunk deep of Daemon ichor since he came to this place. But there are moments when steel is not enough. There are enemies that require the blessed fury of blessed ammunition. He has fired precisely 5 shots in all his time here, and he has regretted every single one. The shell finds its mark, piercing the Daemon's wiry chest and detonating in a shower of too bright gore and dissolving unmatter. The creature's charge is halted mid-stride, and it falls to one side in the storm-whipped dust with a gurgled grunt of confusion. Even as it dies, if such things can truly die, hatred blazes in its eyes. Draigo kicks away its brazen axe, sending the weapon spinning into the ash. The Daemon claws weakly at his armored greaves, its talons scraping against ceramite that has weathered 1,000 such assaults. Its corpus is already beginning to dissipate, the false flesh unraveling into the ambient chaos of the warp. Which one was this? The thought comes unbidden, and with it a wave of something that might be shame. The tyrant? The overfiend? The skull-taker? 1,000 names and epithets swirl in his mind, but the endless cavalcade of the daemonic kind has begun to blur in his recollections. He has fought so many, slain so many, each one a champion of the ruinous powers, each one a terror that would have required armies to defeat in the material realm. Here, they come for him one at a time, or in packs, or in hordes. It makes no difference. He kills them all. But he can no longer remember which ones he has killed and which yet elude him. The strange corruption of this place has touched even his enhanced memory, that perfect recall that was one of the gifts of his ascension to the ranks of the Adeptus Astartes. He can remember the future, glimpses of things that have not yet happened, visions of battles yet to be fought, but his past grows hazier with each passing, what? Day? Year? Century? It is a shameful thing for him to admit, even to himself. The Grey Knights have always stood against the darkness, making it their sacred duty to know all that they could of the great enemy. They have made a science of superstition, following half-glimpsed signs and portents with the same conviction that men of reason once condemned such things. To forget the names of those he has slain feels like a betrayal of everything he was trained to be. But the warp's stifling miasma has blinded him. His preternatural senses are dulled. his psychic gifts muted by the constant pressure of unreality pressing in from all sides. He does not know where he is. He does not know when he is. The coup de grace is inelegant when it comes, efficient. He drives the Titan's word down through the Daemon's skull, ending its existence with cold precision. After so long, he no longer sees any worth in taunting his fallen foes. What would be the point? They know his name, they know what he is, and that is enough. Kaldor Draigo. The savior of Akralam, supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights. Both titles ring hollow now. What has he saved, truly? The world called Akralam still spins somewhere in the material universe, its people living their lives in ignorance of the Daemon incursion he once thwarted. But he is not there to protect it any longer. He is not there to protect anything. And of whom is he the master anymore? His brothers continue the war without him. New Grand Masters have been appointed in his absence. New champions have risen to lead the chapter. Do they even remember him? Or has he become a legend, a figure of myth spoken of in hushed tones by young warriors who cannot quite believe he ever existed? Time flows so strangely here. A century might have passed in the material realm since his exile began, or perhaps only a moment. Perhaps, somewhere, on the moon called Titan, his brothers are only now realizing that he is gone. He will never know. The Daemon's flesh hisses and fizzes in the storm, wins as it dissolves, redolent of old blood and eternal rage. A fine rain of rust and ash falls from the kaleidoscope sky above, driven to patter against Draigo's Terminator warplate before crunching beneath his boots with every step. The sky here is never the same twice. Sometimes it burns with impossible colors, hues that have no names in any human tongue, that hurt to look upon and leave after images that linger for what feels like hours. Sometimes it is black, so utterly devoid of light that even his enhanced vision can perceive nothing but void. Sometimes it writhes with shapes, vast intelligences moving through dimensions that intersect with this one only at angles the mind cannot comprehend. Today, if such a word has meaning, the sky is a kaleidoscope. Fragments of every color swirl and merge and separate, forming patterns that almost resolve into images before dissolving back into chaos. Draigo has learned not to look too closely. The patterns want to be understood. They want him to see meaning in their chaos. And that way lies madness. He walks. The landscape around him shifts as he moves, though whether it changes because of his passage or simply because stability is impossible in this realm, he cannot say. Mountains rise in the distance and crumble to dust before he can reach them. Rivers of what might be water or might be something far worse carve channels through terrain that wasn't there a moment ago. Forests of twisted metal and screaming stone grow and wither in the span of heartbeats. He has learned to navigate by instinct rather than landmark. There is no map of the warp, no chart that could capture its ever-changing geography. He walks toward something, a feeling, a sense of direction that persists even when everything else around him refuses to remain constant. Perhaps he is walking in circles. Perhaps he has been traversing the same stretch of unreality over and over again, the warp reshaping itself behind him to present the illusion of progress. He would have no way of knowing if that were true, but he walks anyway, because the alternative is to stop. And if he stops, they will find him. They are always hunting him, the daemons of this place. His presence here is an affront to them, a mortal soul burning bright in the darkness of their domain. They cannot suffer him to exist, and he cannot afford to let them catch him still, so he walks, and he fights, and he endures. Memory comes to him sometimes, unbidden, floating up from the depths of his mind like bubbles rising through dark water. He remembers Titan. The fortress monastery of the Grey Knights rises in his thoughts, a bastion of grey stone and silver-traced metal standing proud upon Saturn's largest moon. He remembers the cold of its halls, the particular quality of silence that filled its corridors, broken only by the soft chanting of prayers and the distant ring of hammer on anvil in the forges below. He remembers his brothers, Fenric with his cautious wisdom and steady counsel, Kai, whose blade had sung with psychic fire in 100 battles, Mordrak, haunted by the ghosts of the fallen, surrounded always by the spectral images of dead warriors that only he could see. They had advised him against accepting the mantle of Supreme Grand Master. They had seen something in the Prognosticars' warnings that he had been too proud or too blind to acknowledge. He remembers standing in the Augurium after his victory over Mortarion, demanding to know why the Seers of Titan condemned his ascension when he had just achieved what no Grey Knight had accomplished in millennia. Mortarion, the Daemon Primarch of the Death Guard, one of the greatest champions of chaos, humbled on the fields of Cornavin. Surely that proved his worth. Surely that demonstrated that he was meant for this role. The Prognosticars had not agreed. Sighted Brother Varus had been the only one willing to meet his gaze. The old seer's face was lined with decrepitude beyond his transhuman years, his eyes clouded with the weight of everything he had seen and everything he had yet to see. When he spoke, his voice carried the cadence of prophecy. "You have come far, Master Draigo, but this is not your path to follow. You led the Sixth Brotherhood, 666, the number of our chapter, and one that has had many meanings throughout the history of mankind. 6 times 6, 36. The total of the numbers from 1 to 36, 6, 6, 6. 121 primes squared to 11. 11 primes in 36. There is a pattern here, you see." Draigo had frowned, the seer's meandering riddles lost upon him. Numerology and circular coincidence. "I do not understand. Your name, according to the old divinations, is a killing word, though it was not for the Daemon Primarch Mortarion. Kappa, the Decadive, in opposition to Mu, the 12th. Al, in conjunction. Mal to Cal, cancelled by the second. Delta, Omicron, Rho, the D and the R combined to a symmetry greater than the Quaestor. There is a pattern here too." The old seer had gone on, his words spiraling into realms of arcane mathematics and prophetic symbolism that Draigo could not follow. In the end, the meaning had become clear, even if the reasoning remained obscure. The Prognosticars believed that Draigo had been destined for something greater, something other than the role of Supreme Grand Master. By accepting that title, he had usurped a destiny that rightfully belonged to another. He was a soul with two incompatible destinies, they said, and the time would come when he would have to risk everything to pursue either one. Perhaps this was what they meant. Perhaps his exile to the warp was the fulfillment of that secondary destiny, the path he was always meant to walk. Perhaps somewhere in the material universe, another warrior had risen to take the place he had stolen, to become what he should have been. Or perhaps the Prognosticars had simply been wrong. Even seers could misread the currents of fate. Even prophecy could fail. Draigo does not know. He will probably never know. And in the end, does it matter? He is here now, walking through hell with a sword in his hand and 7 shots remaining in his storm bolter. Whatever destiny he was meant for, this is the one he has. He will see it through. There are moments of quiet in the warp. Not peace, never true peace, for the realm of chaos knows nothing of tranquility, but intervals when the storm subsides and the daemons draw back and something like stillness settles over the twisted landscape. In those moments, Draigo allows himself to remember. He remembers the weight of his brother's hands upon his shoulders during his elevation to Supreme Grand Master. The ceremony had been conducted in the great hall of the fortress monastery beneath banners that bore the names of every Grand Master who had come before. Candles by the 1,000 cast dancing shadows on walls carved with 10 millennia of deeds and sacrifices. He remembers the words of the oath he spoke, each syllable resonating with power, binding him to his duty with chains stronger than adamantium. To serve, to protect, to stand against the darkness when all others fled, to know no fear. He remembers the faces of his brothers, not the faces they showed to the world, hidden behind helms of silver and ceramite, but the faces they showed to each other in private moments. Fenric's wry smile when a battle plan came together, Kai's fierce joy in the heat of combat, Mordrak's haunted eyes, forever seeing the ghosts that walked beside him. Do they still live? Do they still fight? He has no way of knowing. The warp shows him many things, but it delights in mixing truth with lies, prophecy with wishful thinking, memory with imagination. He might see a vision of Fenric standing victorious over a fallen daemon and believe his brother lives, only to discover that the vision was a cruel joke, a moment plucked from the past and presented as though it were the present. He has learned not to trust what he sees. He has learned that hope, in this place, is a weapon that cuts both ways. But he cannot stop the memories from coming. And in those quiet moments, when the storm has passed and the darkness seems almost bearable, he lets them wash over him. He remembers the cold halls of Titan. He remembers the taste of sacred oils and the smell of incense. He remembers what it was like to stand among his brothers, part of something greater than himself, a link in a chain of warriors that stretched back to the Emperor's own time. He was not always alone. That is what he clings to, when the isolation threatens to break him. He was part of something. He mattered to people. His name was spoken with respect. His counsel was sought. His leadership was trusted. He was Kaldor Draigo, and that meant something. It still means something, even here, even now. The daemons hate him for what he represents. They hunt him not merely because he kills their kind, but because his very existence is an affront to everything they believe. He is proof that mortal will can endure in their realm. He is evidence that the ruinous powers, for all their terrible strength, cannot break everything they touch. As long as he walks, as long as he fights, as long as he refuses to surrender, he is a symbol, a beacon, a defiance that burns in the heart of darkness. Perhaps that is destiny enough. The storm rises around him as he walks, winds carrying ash and rust and stranger things besides. His tattered cloak whips about him, the fabric shredded by countless battles, held together more by stubbornness than structural integrity. It was once a symbol of his office, bearing the heraldry of the Supreme Grand Master. Now it is just cloth, faded and torn, another remnant of a life that feels increasingly distant. In the scattering of the dead daemon's remains, he sees patterns forming. The warp does this, presents visions, fragments of truth mixed with lies, possibilities and impossibilities blended together until discerning one from the other becomes a fool's errand. He has learned to watch these visions without attachment, to let them flow past without trying to grasp their meaning. He sees shapes, colors, echoes of things that are and futures that were. He sees an old world beyond the next horizon. It is a strange vision, different from the others. Most of what the warp shows him relates to the eternal war, battles being fought across the galaxy, daemons rising and being banished, his brothers struggling against the darkness without him. But this is something else entirely. A world that likely never was, where sorcery blew in the very winds and a self-made god-king was all that stood against the ruinous powers. Not the Imperium, not any world he recognizes from his long centuries of service. Something older, something other. The vision passes, leaving only the faint impression of spired cities and dark forests, of armored knights and creatures of nightmare doing battle beneath twin moons. Perhaps it was merely fancy, his mind conjuring images to fill the emptiness. Perhaps it was something more. In the warp, the distinction between imagination and reality becomes academic. Draigo files the vision away with all the others, the thousands of glimpses and fragments and half-understood prophecies he has accumulated during his wandering. Perhaps one day their meaning will become clear. Perhaps they are meaningless, just noise generated by a realm where meaning itself is suspect. He walks on. Night falls, though that term carries no real weight here. The kaleidoscope sky dims to something darker, the swirling colors fading to muted grays and blacks. The storm subsides, leaving the air still and heavy with the scent of old death. Draigo finds himself standing at the edge of what might once have been a battlefield. Bones litter the ground. Not daemon bones, those dissolve when their bearers fall, but the bones of mortals. Thousands of them, perhaps millions, stretching across the blasted plain as far as his enhanced vision can perceive. Skulls stare up at the empty sky with hollow eyes. Ribcages curve like the hulls of ships that have run aground. Femurs and tibias lie scattered like kindling after a great fire. He does not know how they came to be here. The warp should not contain mortal remains. Souls are drawn here, yes, but bodies belong to the material realm. Yet here they are, an ocean of the dead, their presence as inexplicable as everything else in this place. Perhaps they are not real. Perhaps they are echoes, psychic impressions left by the countless billions who have died screaming the names of dark gods throughout the long history of the galaxy. Perhaps they are memories given form, the warp's attempt to remind him of what is at stake. Or perhaps the warp is simply mocking him. Draigo walks among the bones, his footfalls crunching against ancient remains. He feels no revulsion, no horror. He has seen too much for such things to move him anymore. He simply observes, notes, and continues forward. In the distance, something stirs. He sees it before it sees him, a shambling mass of shadow and hate, picking its way through the bone field with movements that suggest intelligence but not sanity. It is larger than the daemon he killed earlier, its form more fluid, shifting between shapes as it moves. Now it resembles a great hound, now a serpent, now something with too many limbs and not enough eyes. Draigo's hand falls to the hilt of his sword, but he does not draw. Not yet. The creature has not noticed him, and there may be value in observation. Every daemon has patterns, weaknesses, vulnerabilities that can be exploited. Even in this realm where the rules constantly change, certain constants remain: pride, rage, the hunger for mortal souls. He watches as the creature moves through the bone field, occasionally stopping to sniff at the remains as if searching for something. What could a daemon want with ancient bones? What purpose could they serve? The answer comes when the creature finds what it is looking for: a skull, larger than the others, still bearing fragments of corroded metal that might once have been a crown. The daemon lifts the skull in claws that shift from solid to ethereal and back again, and something like reverence enters its posture. A king, perhaps, a ruler of some long-dead civilization, his remains preserved here by forces beyond understanding. And this daemon, a servant of that king in life, or an enemy that outlasted him, or simply a creature drawn to the psychic residue of power, has come to pay homage, or to gloat, or for reasons that have no analogue in mortal understanding. Draigo moves before the daemon can sense him. The Titan's word clears its sheath with a sound like screaming stars, the blade igniting with psychic fire as it arcs toward the creature's back. The daemon reacts, they always react, their senses attuned to threats even when their attention is elsewhere, but not quickly enough. The blessed edge bites deep, carving through shadow flesh and the mockery of muscle beneath. The creature howls, the skull falls from its claws, shattering against the bones below. And then the fight is joined, blade against claw, will against will, a dance of death played out upon a stage of ancient remains. It lasts minutes, or hours, or seconds. Time means nothing here. When it ends, the daemon dissolves into nothingness, and Draigo stands alone once more among the bones. He is breathing hard, his muscles aching with exertion, his mind buzzing from the psychic strain of channeling power through his blade. A new wound decorates his armor, a gouge across the chest plate where a claw found its mark, but the ceramite held. It always holds. He looks down at the shattered skull, at the fragments of corroded crown scattered among the bone shards. There is a story here, he thinks, a tragedy or a triumph, played out long ago on some distant world, its ending preserved in the warp like an insect in amber. He will never know what it was. He turns and walks away, leaving the bones behind. The question haunts him as he travels, the question that has no answer, that perhaps has too many answers, that defines his existence in this realm of chaos. If he embraces one destiny, who will claim the other? The Prognosticars spoke of two paths, two possible futures branching from the moment of his ascension. He chose one, the mantle of Supreme Grand Master, the leadership of his chapter, the weight of responsibility for humanity's secret war against the daemon. And in choosing that path, he closed off the other. But what was that other destiny? What might he have become if he had listened to the seer's warnings? Sometimes, in the quiet moments between battles, he imagines alternatives. A Draigo who refused the title of Supreme Grand Master, who remained a simple brother captain, leading his brotherhood into the darkness without the burden of ultimate command. Would that Draigo have avoided the trap that Makar laid for him? Would he still be in the material realm, fighting alongside his brothers, growing old in service to the Emperor? Or would that path have led somewhere else entirely? To a death more permanent than this endless exile, to a failure more catastrophic than his mere absence? The warp offers no answers. The warp never offers answers, only more questions. On the eve of a new dark millennium, does the fate of the galaxy rest upon his shoulders? Or has he already been forgotten, his name erased from memory, his deeds attributed to others or simply lost to time? He is a lord with no domain, a knight with no quest. His titles are empty words, meaningless in a realm where there are no subjects to command and no causes to champion. The only things he can count upon are his sword and the 7 shots remaining in his storm bolter. 7 shots, not enough to fight his way out of the warp, not enough to defeat the legions of daemons that call this place home, but enough, perhaps, to matter, enough to make a difference in 7 crucial moments, whenever those moments might come. He conserves them. He waits. He walks. And he wonders if anyone, anywhere, still remembers the name Kaldor Draigo. Time flows strangely within the Empyrean. He has learned to stop trying to measure it. In the early days, or what felt like early days, he attempted to maintain some connection to temporal reality. He counted his heartbeats, tracked his periods of sleep and waking, tried to impose human rhythms on a realm that rejected such things. It drove him nearly mad. Now he simply exists. He moves when movement feels right. He rests when his body demands it, though whether those periods of rest last for minutes or years, he cannot say. He fights when enemies appear. He walks when the path ahead seems clear. He has made a kind of peace with timelessness. Never true acceptance, for the warp is abomination, and to accept it would be to surrender, but a tactical accommodation. He cannot change the nature of this realm. He can only endure it. Sometimes he feels the pull of the material universe, a tugging at his soul that suggests doorways opening and closing in the barrier between realms. The warp is not entirely separate from reality. It bleeds into the material plane at points of weakness, and from those points, theoretically, one might escape. He has tried. Throne knows he has tried. But the doorways are guarded, warded by forces that recognize him as an enemy. The daemons will not let him leave. He is too valuable a trophy, too potent a symbol of their eternal war against the servants of the Emperor. They cannot kill him, not permanently, not here where death is merely a transition to another form of existence, but they can contain him. They can keep him wandering, fighting, expending himself against endless waves of lesser beings while the greater powers watch and laugh. Perhaps that is his purpose now, to be an irritant, to be a thorn in the side of the dark gods, a reminder that humanity will not submit, will not break, will not surrender. Even one soul, lost and alone in the realm of chaos, can be a beacon of defiance. It is not much. It is not what he was meant for, but it is something. The warp, for all its horror, has taught him truths he might never have learned in the material realm. He has learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. In a place where fear itself takes physical form, where terror can manifest as claws and fangs and burning eyes, he has faced the essence of dread and refused to yield. Not because he does not feel fear, he feels it constantly, a background hum of existential horror that never fully fades, but because he has learned to act despite it. He has learned that identity is not dependent on circumstance. Stripped of his chapter, his brothers, his purpose, cast into a realm where everything he was should have been meaningless, he remains who he is. Kaldor Draigo, Grey Knight, servant of the Emperor. The titles may ring hollow, but the truth they point to endures. He knows what he believes. He knows what he will fight for. He knows what he will die for. And he has learned that hope is a choice, not a feeling. There are days or periods that feel like days when hope seems impossible. When the endless fighting and wandering and surviving wear him down to something raw and broken. When the weight of isolation presses so heavily that even his enhanced physiology begins to falter. When the quiet voice in the back of his mind whispers that this is all there will ever be, that he will wander until the end of time, that his brothers have forgotten him, that his sacrifice means nothing. In those moments, he chooses hope anyway, not because the evidence supports it, not because optimism is rational in a realm of eternal nightmare, but because hope is the one weapon the daemons cannot take from him. They can wound his body and twist his perceptions and assault his mind with visions of despair, but they cannot force him to surrender. They cannot make him stop believing that somewhere, somehow, his suffering has meaning. This is the truth the Grey Knights carry into battle against the Daemon, that the human spirit is stronger than the forces that seek to destroy it. That faith can persist in the absence of evidence, that even in the darkest hour, a single soul standing firm can be enough. Draigo embodies that truth now in ways he never did before. He has become the living proof of everything his chapter believes. The storm returns as he crests a rise of what might be stone or might be solidified malice. Before him stretches a plain of rust-red sand, broken by outcroppings of crystallized screaming. The warp sometimes traps sounds in physical form, preserving them as monuments to agonies long past. The sky has shifted again, now showing something that resembles stars, though the constellations are wrong, depicting shapes that the night sky of no mortal world would ever display. He sees an old world beyond the next horizon. The vision has returned, stronger now. Spired cities rising against a sky of unfamiliar blue. Forests of dark pines stretching toward mountains capped with eternal snow. Armored figures on horseback, carrying banners that bear symbols he does not recognize. A world that breathes with magic, where the power of the warp flows freely through the air like wind or water. Not the Imperium, not any world of the 41st millennium that he knows. Perhaps a place that once was, in the long ages before humanity reached for the stars. Perhaps a place that might have been, had history taken a different turn. Perhaps a place that exists only in the warp's imagination, a dream given form by the collective unconscious of species that worship the old ways. Perhaps the answer to his question lies there. Draigo considers the vision carefully. The warp is treacherous, always offering what seems like hope only to snatch it away at the last moment. But he has wandered for so long, fought for so long, endured for so long with no destination in mind. If there is even a chance that this old world holds some knowledge, purpose, a path back to reality, is it not worth pursuing? The alternative is more of the same. More wandering, more fighting, more years or centuries or millennia of existence without meaning. He sheathes the Titan's wood. His tattered cloak whips about him as the storm winds rise, ash and rust swirling in patterns that almost seem intentional. He plants his feet against the gale, looking toward the horizon where the vision shimmers and fades and returns. If his destiny will not follow, then he will go on as he always has, alone. But perhaps not without hope, perhaps not without purpose. Kaldor Draigo, supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights, begins to walk toward the old world that waits beyond the storm. 7 shots remain in his storm bolter. The Titan's word hangs at his side, patient and hungry. His body is battered, his armor scarred, his mind touched by the madness of timeless wandering. But he is not broken, he is not defeated, he is not finished. The daemons of the warp have tried to destroy him since the moment he arrived in their realm. They have sent their champions against him, their hordes, their most cunning servants. They have thrown everything they have at this single mortal soul, this stubborn ember of defiance burning in the heart of their domain. And still he walks. Let them come. Let the ruinous powers unleash their worst upon him. Let the dark gods themselves descend from their impossible thrones to crush this insignificant insect who dares to survive in their kingdom. He will face them, he will fight them. And even if he falls, truly falls, finally falls, after all the battles and all the years and all the endless, grinding struggle, he will have fallen forward. He will have fallen fighting. He will have fallen as a Grey Knight. That is who he is. That is all he is. And that is enough. And the warp shifts around him as he walks, the landscape reshaping itself in response to his passage or in defiance of it. The storm howls and screams and whispers promises of oblivion. The sky burns and freezes and transforms into colors that have no names. And somewhere, on the moon called Titan, candles burn in the halls of remembrance. His brothers have not forgotten him. They speak his name in their prayers, invoke his memory in their oaths of moment, teach his deeds to the young warriors who will carry on the eternal war. He is not a myth to them, not yet. He is their lost lord, their exiled master, their brother who fell into darkness and refused to stop fighting. They believe he will return. Perhaps that belief is foolish. Perhaps it is the most rational thing in a galaxy gone mad. The warp does not obey the rules of the material universe. The impossible happens there with regularity. Why not the return of a single warrior from the realm of daemons? Stranger things have occurred. So let the candles burn. Let the prayers be spoken. Let hope persist, even in the face of infinite darkness. In the warp, Kaldor Draigo walks on, toward the old world on the horizon, toward whatever destiny awaits him there, toward answers or more questions, triumph or tragedy, the end of his journey or merely another chapter in an endless saga. He does not know what he will find. He does not know if he will survive the finding. He only knows that he will not stop. He will not yield. He will not surrender. He is a Grey Knight. He is the supreme Grand Master. He is the savior of Akralum, the slayer of Makar's servants, the wanderer in the spaces between reality and dream. And while he still draws breath, while his heart still beat within his scarred and battered chest, he will fight. For the Emperor, for humanity, for the brothers he has left behind and the brothers who will come after. For everything that is worth fighting for, and against everything that seeks to destroy it. This is his oath. This is his purpose. This is the truth that sustains him when all other truths have faded. The storm rages, the warp howls, the daemons circle and wait, and Kaldor Draigo walks into the darkness, alone, unbroken, eternal. Let his name be remembered.